Chapter 23. Pursuit in the Shadows. The depths of the underground highway echoed with the faint hum of the engine, the path ahead lit only by the dim halo from the limousine's headlights. Eckhard leaned back into the plush leather seats, finding solace in the familiar hum of the vehicle and the gentle swaying as they moved at a steady pace. "Sir," the driver's voice crackled over the intercom, punctuating the monotonous drone of the journey. "There's something on the screen ahead." Without waiting for a prompt, Eckhard reached for the console embedded in the limousine's luxurious interior. It was a sophisticated system, a product of extensive research and a spin-off from the electrical resistivity tomography technology. The screen sprang to life, illuminating his stern features with an eerie green glow. His eyes quickly darted to the anomaly his driver spoke of, a faint outline, hazy in detail but unmistakable in form. It bore a resemblance to one, perhaps two, figures on a motorcycle. Intrigued, he brought up his organizer, fingertips dancing over the screen as he searched for scheduled travelers in this sector. To his surprise, the data indicated no activity in this stretch of the underground for at least another hour. "Get closer," he ordered, his voice brimming with authority. As the limousine sped up, the green outline on the screen sharpened, becoming increasingly defined. And then, with startling clarity, the silhouette of a woman materialized. She was perched on a motorcycle, posture defiant, gaze directed straight at them, though still a mile or so away. A cold realization tightened in Eckhard's chest, making his breath catch. Could it be? The green figure in his screen looked so familiar. It could only belong to Sierra. The very thought spurred him into action. "Faster!" he snapped, his voice urgent. "We cannot let her escape!" The limousine's engine roared to life as they accelerated, eating up the distance between them and the motorcycle. The eerie green of the screen painted a relentless chase deep beneath the earth. Sierra, if it was indeed her, veered down a tunnel signposted toward Oklahoma City. Eckhard's grip on the console tightened. There was no escaping him this time. Sierra was within his grasp, and he'd move heaven and earth, or in this case, the very ground below, to ensure she didn't slip through his fingers again. The vast subterranean expanse was filled only with the echoing drone of engines, a dissonant concerto of the vehicles darting through the labyrinthine tunnels. As Eckhard's limousine raced forward, he tapped a concealed panel, connecting him to a convoy approaching from the south. "Northbound heading to St. Louis?" Eckhard's voice echoed through the communication line, as commanding and cold as always. A curt reply came almost instantly. "Yes, sir. Running on time." The convoy leader's voice was practiced and calm, accustomed to Eckhard's sudden interrogations of progress. With swift precision, Eckhard mentally calculated the distance and potential convergence point. "In 15 minutes, block off both lanes. Do not let the motorcycle pass. If you harm its driver," his voice dropped to a lethal whisper, "you will find the abyss of these tunnels to be your eternal resting place." The electric hum of the limousine's acceleration filled the air as they barreled down the Oklahoma City tunnel. The vehicle, designed for these very tunnels, effortlessly ate up the distance separating them from the motorcycle. Switching the display to infrared, Eckhard's heart lurched. Even through the green, pixelated filter, the rider's identity was unmistakable. Sierra. A flood of emotions, long buried, threatened to drown him. Confusion, anger, and something he wouldn't dare admit, even to himself. They continued the pursuit, shadowing her closely but maintaining their distance. As expected, the glint of lights emerged from the darkness, signaling the convoy's barricade ahead. The trap was set. Sierra's bike came to a screeching halt before the impenetrable wall of trucks. She seemed cornered, raising her hands in a gesture of surrender. Just then, a man from the convoy, overcome by misguided zeal, rushed forward and struck Sierra. Eckhard's response was instinctive and brutal. Before the limousine even came to a full stop, he swung the door open, briskly walked over, and without hesitation, shot the man dead. "I specifically said no harm was to come to her," he seethed, fury evident in his eyes. Reaching out to help Sierra up, he was met with the cold steel of her revolver aimed directly at him. The tunnels, usually filled with echoes, were silent, the air thick with tension. Both of them locked in a standoff, their past and future colliding in that very moment. The electric hum of vehicles ceased, replaced by a thick, suffocating silence. The cold blue light of the tunnel glinted off Sierra's revolver, her eyes never leaving Eckhard. "We must stop meeting like this." "Guns all waving around own't, tension in the air," Eckhard quipped, the hint of amusement evident despite the thick German accent. Sierra's brow furrowed, her stance defiant, yet a mocking smirk played on her lips. "Who are you?" "Und! What the hell is going on?" she parroted, emphasizing the "und," a trace of sarcasm in her eyes. Eckhard sighed, pulling his gaze from Sierra's to survey the scene. His dispatched convoy, the vast, echoing emptiness of the tunnel, and Sierra, fierce and resilient. Sliding his pistol into the shoulder holster hidden beneath his suit jacket, he said, removing his German accent, "My dear, as you can clearly see, there's nowhere for you to run. This is the end of the road. If you take my life, they will grant you no mercy." She could hear the truth in his words, but Sierra's heart raced for another reason. The same inexplicable tension that she felt when she locked eyes with Eckhard the first time. The depths of their past encounters echoed in that very moment, intertwining their fates. A brief scan of her surroundings confirmed her fears. The tunnel was a cavernous trap. The soft murmurings and shuffling noises from the dark suggested more soldiers lurked beyond the blinding convoy lights, ready to pounce. She was trapped, and she knew it. But her instincts told her this wasn't the time to fight. It was the time to think, to plan, to stay alive and seize an opportunity when it presented itself. Holstering her gun, she stared down Eckhard. "Fine, let's get this over with," she snapped, her tone defiant. Eckhard's heart raced, each beat louder than the last. As Sierra spoke, a torrent of emotions threatened to break through the dam of his carefully maintained composure. Her confidence was a force to be reckoned with, and he was momentarily lost, caught in the whirlwind of her presence. Sierra, sensing a shift in power, extended her hands expecting to be restrained. But Eckhard, with a dismissive wave, simply motioned towards his limousine. He didn't even bother to confiscate her weapons, an act that spoke volumes about the peculiar nature of their dynamic. Seated opposite each other in the luxury of the vehicle's interior, the contrast between them was stark. Sierra's rugged attire, complete with holstered weapons, seemed out of place against the plush leather and the hum of the limo's engine. Eckhard, in a crisp suit, looked every bit the businessman. Yet there was an undeniable allure to Sierra. She radiated a fierce energy, captivating him. Breaking the silence, Eckhard inquired, "How did you evade Commander Guan Yin? She appears to have a rather intense interest in you." Despite the rising tension, Sierra's tone was light, almost playful. "Oh, you know, the usual pleasantries. A please here, a thank you there." Her jest earned a snicker from Eckhard, who gestured to a bottle of aged bourbon. "Fancy a drink? No harm in indulging, is there?" Sierra chuckled, thinking of how Bottle would revel in this very moment. "Never developed a taste for that after a misadventure with my brother's home brew." She leaned forward, selecting a soda from the limo's minibar. "But this is gold." The hiss of the can echoed in the confined space, and she took a long, satisfying sip. Eckhard's eyes narrowed slightly, memories of his father's voice warning him about the power of women echoing in his mind. He pushed those thoughts aside, focusing on the woman in front of him. "I assume your brother is settling down with Karnak, leaving you out in the wild." The atmosphere inside the limo thickened, like a dense fog slowly enveloping everything. Sierra's unbridled laughter created ripples in this murky cloud, but her confidence remained steadfast. "Oh, I don't need a protector. I've always held my own." Pausing for a moment, she added with a mischievous glint, "But I could always ring up my brother just to let him know of the intriguing company I find myself in." For a moment, Eckhard appeared momentarily off balance, caught off guard by Sierra's audaciousness. He took a deep breath, his voice measured yet dripping with implication. "If you truly knew the perils lurking in Oklahoma City, you might have reconsidered your journey. Warlords have been battling for control, turning it into a living hell. But rest assured, order will soon be restored under my watch." Sierra let the effervescence of the soda play on her tongue, taking a moment to savor it while she plotted her next move. The drink was a distraction, a brief respite before she would steer the conversation back to where it needed to go. "But let's get back to the real question, shall we? Who are you, really?" Eckhard's icy gaze met hers, a silent challenge passing between them. His voice was devoid of any warmth as he uttered, "I have, for long, been the puppet master orchestrating the chaos you've witnessed. I've pulled strings that have influenced the fates of many, including you, your brother, and that insufferable Texas Ranger." Before he could register what was happening, Sierra's hand struck his face with a force that reverberated through the silent limousine. Eckhard's eyes flashed with rage, his hand instinctively rising, but he managed to restrain himself just in time. Eyes ablaze, Sierra leaned in close, her voice fierce. "Never, ever mention him again." The silent aftermath of her declaration weighed heavily, a power struggle manifesting between them in the stillness of the limo. The dim light inside seemed to heighten the drama unfolding between them. Despite being the mastermind behind countless tragedies and feeling no qualms about his role in reshaping the world order, Eckhard was noticeably unsettled by Sierra's fierce emotions, though he managed to hide this masterfully. Your family was merely collateral in a larger scheme, a media spectacle for the world to obsess over. Your brother's interference was unexpected. Eckhard's voice was low and measured, giving away none of the internal turmoil he felt of her displeasure. Sierra's fingers brushed against the Texas Ranger star adorning her holster, a tactile reminder of the life she once knew. "So, you are the puppeteer of this apocalyptic hell?" she challenged. Eckhard leaned into the sumptuous embrace of the leather seat, a smirk playing on his lips. "No, my dear. The Americans of 1944 were. They instigated the domino effect that led us here." Sierra's face contorted slightly in confusion. "What on earth are you going on about? The German accent? That incident decades ago? What's your stake in all of this?" It was then that her eyes widened, catching sight of the twin silver lightning bolts adorning his collar, a haunting symbol of the Schutzstaffel, the dreaded SS. Catching her glance, Eckhard straightened with pride. "I am Eckhard Roche, son of the revered Victor Roche, once a member of the illustrious Schutzstaffel. My grandfather, an SS officer, was brutally executed by an American in my father's presence. This vengeance has been brewing for generations, and only now, under my watch, have we begun to realize our aspirations." Reeling from this revelation, Sierra's grip tightened on her pistol, every fiber of her being urging her to act. But a mysterious pull towards Eckhard held her back. "And what do you hope to gain from this chaos?" she demanded. Eckhard's eyes gleamed, his face illuminated with zeal. "Ah, that's the beauty of it all. From the ruins we shall construct a nation to overshadow even the grandeur of the Reich or the might of the Roman Empire. A utopia where the formidable thrive, unhindered by the burdens of the feeble." Before Sierra could react, daylight started filtering through the limo's windows. Recognizing the vast cavernous entrance, her heart raced. Eckhard, gesturing towards the approaching sight, said, "Ah, and here's our welcoming committee." Sierra's gaze followed his gesture to land on Commander Guan Yin, flanked by dozens of armed guards awaiting their arrival.